Ontario's premier says he has no regrets when it comes to a controversial TV ad. It used audio of former U.S. President Ronald Reagan to denounce tariffs and provoked an angry response from President Donald Trump. He's now ended trade talks and threatened an additional 10% tariff on Canadian goods. Premier Doug Ford says the ad was worth it.
You know why President Trump's so upset right now? Because it was effective. It was working. It woke up the whole country. There isn't probably, unless you're living underneath a rock down there, probably there isn't one American that hasn't viewed it on social media or on television. And the whole world saw it on the World Series. They saw it on the NFL games last night. So we've achieved our goal to make sure that conversation starts with the American people and with their elected officials.
The CBC's Marina von Stackelberg is on the story for us. She joins us live from our Ottawa bureau. So Marina, Premier Ford is sticking with his ad. What else did we hear from him?
Well, he is calling this the best ad that ever ran. He says because everyone is talking about it. He says the Ontario government definitely got its money's worth with a price tag of $75 million. Ford says his intention was not, in his words, to poke the president in the eye, but that his intention was to inform Americans, and that was achieved. He said that Americans need to understand and realize that tariffs on Canadian goods are a tax on Americans. He was also asked by reporters in a scrum earlier today if he feels like he's personally responsible for this new 10% threat, the fact that Donald Trump has called off talks. Ford says that, we haven't seen Trump actually, bring in those tariffs. He says he threatens a lot of things, and so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Ford said if it wasn't the ad, he would, Trump would look out the window and see the leaves are turning and hit Canada. He says it's also not about the ad. It's about Trump finding, in his words, every excuse in the world to not get a deal. And also importantly here, too, Ford said that the ad was cleared. Trump has called the ad a fraud, but Ford says they cleared it with legal. This speech was openly sourced. It was available, fair to use, and that they used what he said word for word. He was asked also if the Prime Minister had asked Ford to stop being so vocal. And he said, no, Ontario and the other premiers are an important and critical role in these negotiations, and that the Prime Minister was ultimately okay with the ad.
How are relations with the Prime Minister? Are things strained now because of what's happened?
Not at all. He saw the ad before I put it out. So did his Chief of Staff. They both saw it, and we moved forward on it. But again, we achieved our goal. As we say, mission accomplished. It was done. They're talking about it in the U.S., and they weren't talking about it before I put the ad on. So I'm glad that Ronald Reagan was a free trader.
Ford also said that he's been hearing about this imminent deal for months and months, he said, and if there was a deal to come, there was no mention of a relief for the auto sector. He has been a very outspoken critic of Trump. He's really been ratcheting that up in the last few weeks. He regularly appears on American networks talking about the tariffs. He has called Trump a tyrant. He has called him the most disliked politician for Canadians. And reporting from my colleague here at the Parliamentary Bureau, Kate McKenna, according to sources, the Ford bad cop routine and tough talk about Trump, it allegedly has been an irritant with negotiations with the Americans. Two sources with knowledge of the talks that are not authorized to speak publicly say that American officials have been warning Canadian officials for months that the comments that Ford has been making were troubling to the Trump administration. But today, Ford very much standing behind his comments and standing behind his ad.
So what's the Prime Minister saying about the ad and where things stand with talks?
Yeah, so Carney is traveling in Asia right now, and he did not directly criticize Ford when asked about the ad, basically saying in the end, it's the federal government that is involved in the negotiations with U.S. officials. He said that, though, they thought that they were close to an agreement until these ads ran. He said he hasn't spoken to Trump since Trump called off trade talks. And if we think about the fact that Carney, in his recent visit to the Oval Office just a couple weeks ago, there was this kind of vibe that things were more friendly, that the relationship was getting a bit warmer between the two leaders. Well, that appears to very much be on ice. Have a listen.
Whether it's provincial or Canada itself, they all knew exactly what the ad was. Prime Minister knew, everybody knew. The Prime Minister knew what the end was before it went.
Will you see him in APEC? Do you want to meet with him?
I don't want to meet with him. No, I'm not going to be meeting with him for a while. No. I'm very happy with the deal we have right now with Canada. We're going to let it ride.
The President and I have not spoken since he took this decision. We are ready to have discussions when the Americans wish to have those discussions. But we're not, obviously, we don't dictate the timing of that.
A bit hard to hear the U.S. president there, but he basically says, I'm not going to be meeting with them, as in Canadians, for a while now. I'm very happy with the deal we have right now with Canada, and we're going to let it run. So definitely no movement on talks there. There is increasing pressure on Prime Minister Mark Carney. If we remember the fact that our budget is just a little over a week away, a lot that we know already to be in that budget will be measures to deal with the tariff threat and with Donald Trump. Billions of dollars to help the industry, workers, and help Canada move away from its trade relationship with the United States. And so we've seen announcements about that to this effect. And Patty Hajdu, the jobs minister, was out earlier this morning making some announcements today, support for workers. And I asked her, do you think that Ontario's ad was a mistake? Have a listen to her response.
Look, these are difficult negotiations, and I'm not the minister responsible for those negotiations, but I think people have been clear and have been very clear with their direction to our government, which is to control the things we can and to focus on Canadians and the outcomes for Canadians, and that's what we're doing.
The subtext there, of course, Canada can't always control what Trump says and what Trump does.
Thank you. That is the CBC's Marina von Stackelberg live in Ottawa.